like you're one, you should be nicer to me.
Great. I'm hanging up now.
It's a job, jackass. Fix your gig. I can't take it. Travel restrictions.
I told you I'm not doing that hired gun work anymore.
Oh, come on. It's corporate espionage. Scumbags screwing scumbags. No bystanders. Huge payday.
What's the catch?
It's in London, which is not the easiest place to get to these days.
London. It's where Jackson lives.
Yeah? Why do you think I called you, asshole?
Okay, I gotta go.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous arrivons maintenant à l'aéroport international Paris-Charles. Bienvenue à Paris.
Alright, welcome back to Gamerfine. This is me, Assassin Yudi, and finally we're talking about Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline Expansion / DLC, whatever you want to call it. So before we get into what's good, what's bad, let's just first get into what's in the DLC. Starting off, we have Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs 1 and Wrench from Watch Dogs 2 returning into the story arc of London. Now, the most important question that comes in is that how these two characters fit in the current storyline of the game, and the answer is they don't. The timeline of these two characters when they come in is set directly in between the London bombing, when DedSec was fakely accused of bombing different parts of London, and the revival of DedSec, because DedSec was dead for a long time. In between that is where Aiden and Wrench come in their own story arc. Now, talking about these two individual characters, because you can of course play them in the main storyline as well, and there is a reason these characters are expensive, because the season pass is also quite expensive. So these two characters have their own set of abilities, and trust me, it is the best set of abilities I've seen in the entire game. I don't think any other character has this. One operator which released some time ago, who has a mind control ability, is still fine. It's cool to look at, but it's still fine. But the actual hacking ability comes in when you actually explore these characters, because these two characters actually give you the feeling of that you're in Watch Dogs. You're actually hacking, you're smashing, and you can just actually do whatever you want. You have freedom with these characters. You can go long range, you can go short range, you have enough firepower, and if you get stuck in a messy situation, you always have a golden opportunity to make things go in your favor. And especially bringing back Aiden Pierce's blackout ability, I think it looks beautiful in Watch Dogs Legion. Everything becomes a mess. I mean, if Aiden Pierce could have been more involved in the main story as well, I think we could be looking at a very different Watch Dogs Legion right now. But nevertheless, it is what it is, and we're here to talk about the DLC. So now let's dive into the story. So we're not gonna get much into the story because it's an expansion. It's not as big as the story, but whatever it is amazing. I had a lot of fun playing it. So I'm gonna give you just a brief about it, but highly recommend you to do try it at least once. So here's what happened. So Aiden Pierce still works as a freelancer taking gigs, and Chen, his best friend, I don't know if I pronounced that name wrong, calls him up and says there's this gig in London and it pays well, you should do it. And Aiden Pierce is all like, I don't think I'm gonna go to London. Then Chen reminds him that Jackson, Aiden's nephew, is now in London. So basically Aiden will get an opportunity to complete a gig, earn some money, as well as probably meet Jackson. So it's a win-win situation, and hence Aiden Pierce like, fuck it, off to London. Then he takes his car, apparently ends up being in a ship where he's being taken to London, and his car is no more with him, which is a bummer. I really thought I could get to sit in his car once again. You know, his car looked dope, but nevertheless we have what we have. We at least have Aiden Pierce. And talking about Aiden Pierce once again, if you walk around the city with him. He will trot, literally trot, just like Watch Dogs 1, his hands in the pockets. It just looks phenomenal right there. Proceeding through the story, I'll be honest, I didn't pay much attention. It was good, but I was busy smashing things up, smashing people up. So basically, there's this military firm called Rampart. They're making some robots, and now they want AIs to actually control their robots, for which they need Procatechs. You know, the one that we met, the lady, the CEO lady who turned herself into AI. Yeah, same one. So now they want something of Procatechs to actually power their military robots. But right now there are some clashes between them, and right now the scene is, if Rampart isn't able to get that AI thingy from Brocatech, then they will land in a serious lawsuit and ultimately lose their entire company. So this is where Aiden comes in. He is being hired and he wants to know the location of that Brocatech AI thingy, and he needs to recover it. While he was trying to acquire the Brocatech thingy back, he meets Wrench. Wrench apparently is also behind this thing and he actually wants it. Now Aiden also wants it. This is where the clash comes in, and now Wrench has to make his way out of there. He fights off Aiden and apparently ends up injuring him, and Aiden gets captured by Rampart. So now Aiden is captured and Wrench realizes it is most of his fault, and Wrench also knows who Aiden Pierce himself is. So it was of course his duty to get him out of there, and he does that. So from this point on, you have to find out what Wrench is actually up to, how Wrench plays a key role in this entire story, and what role Jackson plays here. Because let me give you this, Jackson will play an important role. Not so much with the action, but yes, he will be an integral part to the story. So that's about the story, and now let's come back to the gameplay and the features. So right now, apart from our previous enemy types, you know, the enforcers, the rushers, the normal guards, you have a new Terminator kind of robots that will try to hunt you down. They're a bit of a headache to get into, and of course a bullet sponge. The only thing I hate in games is bullet sponge, and this is what we got. But still, it's a robot, and I think the environment Watch Dogs Legion is set in, robots are actually completely fine. There are different methods to get this guy offline, but the most primitive way is to actually shoot him a lot. It will overheat his core, then his actual CPU will be exposed, that you can literally light up and terminate the Terminator. So that's about the enemies you'll be dealing, the environment you'll be going in, the characters you'll be playing with, and what role they actually play in the story. Now, why am I so excited about this DLC over the main game? Now the answers are pretty simple, and I would just give 2-3 points in my opinion, which you may agree or disagree, and that's completely on you. No problem. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. So first off, I think that these characters have a well written story, well defined story, and they already have a following. People know about these characters. People actually love these characters. They are connected to them, and seeing them written into the Legion franchise, seeing what else they have to offer, more about them, because it's been a lot of years since these two games came out, and of course the first Watch Dogs came out a lot back. So of course people wanted to know more about Aiden Pierce. People were thinking that Watch Dogs Legion could actually be Aiden Pierce too, but finally he is back here in the DLC, and he will actually continue his story as well. So people are actually pretty much excited about it. I am pretty much excited about it, and trust me, exploring his story further, knowing what he was doing after the events of Watch Dogs 1, how he was living on his own during Watch Dogs Legion, is actually pretty dope to know. And then there's Wrench. He was actually the most coolest looking character in Watch Dogs 2. I mean, people loved interacting with Wrench. People loved playing the missions of Wrench. So basically, Wrench was one of the most coolest character in Watch Dogs 2. So of course, people seeing him back is dope. And trust me, Wrench has been such a blast playing with. He has a good arsenal. He has this SMG which is all modified, so it will actually shock people while actually shooting. If you shoot a turret, it will make it offline immediately. So that's a good arsenal. And instead of baton that Aiden Pierce wields, Wrench will have its own sledgehammer. I mean, you're just hammering your way out there, like you're beating people with that hammer, taking down people with that hammer. I mean, what a blast, man. Beautiful. That's it. 10 on 10 game right here. Do you need anything else than this to make any DLC a 10 on 10? I don't think so. But nevertheless, coming after the characters, I personally think that this story had a core in itself. I could know where the story is going. It is not baseless, it is not hopeless, because the entire story of Legion is all about 4 different entities trying to work together to actually corrupt London, play with the ideas of the main villain out there. But the entire core was just about recruiting more people to DedSec. That pretty much worked just by recruiting. You recruited, hey, now you're a member of DedSec, now you don't have any role until I decide to play with you. That's it. So the actual core of Watch Dogs Legion was pretty much empty, and hence the reviews, be it Arko Bhaiya's written review over our website or be it Manas Bhaiya's actual in-depth review, they both almost speak the same thing. The story seems kinda blank. The potential, of course, was pretty amazing. I personally think that Legion has been designed well. The environment may seem off, but if you actually are walking really slow into the environment, you could almost feel that you are in a city that is under some serious shit right now. People are getting arrested back and forth. You could overhear people. You can scan people to know more about them, which actually is kind of really fun, because anyone you're seeing, you can immediately get to know what they're doing, what they do, and that's a really good feature. But once again, that is not what makes a good game. A good game will be the one that actually connects the fun, connects the entire story, and gives you a great experience. It's all about the experience, and the Bloodline DLC will give you that experience. That's the whole point out there. Trust me, I had a lot of fun playing Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline DLC, because after you're done with Aiden's part of the story, you'll be picking up with Wrench's part of story, because the whole core of this DLC is to actually understand what's going on between them. And after you get to know what's going on between them, these characters will come together and work on a single goal. That is something that will make more sense instead of the story that was going on in Watch Dogs Legion. And that, I think, is all the reasons I really think the DLC is better. Of course, I now think compared to the day one launch, but right now the game is pretty much optimized. It works well on my laptop. It ran on the same settings as on the day one, but on the day one I was barely getting 30 to 40 FPS. Right now it runs well around 90 FPS. There isn't a huge load on my laptop when there's heavy scenes, a lot of explosions going back and forth, and especially when I'm initiating Aiden's blackout, because once he initiates that blackout, every single car on the road will crash somewhere or crash into each other, and that is actually pretty dope to look at. But still, it takes a lot of CPU power, but that is now being optimized well. So the game optimization part is now good, the story of Bloodline is now good, the characters that you'll get to play are awesome. And if you're getting into Watch Dogs Legion right now, the main story right now, of course you can go give it a try with these characters itself, because not only you'll be playing them in the DLC, you can play these 2 characters in the main story arc as well. So that's worth the buck, I would say, because out there you will also be using their abilities too. And with that, guys, that's been a wrap. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other thoughts, if you want to talk to me about your opinions about Watch Dogs Legion DLC, or just have any question, make sure to hit me down in the comments below. You can follow us on social media. Make sure to check out our Press Start to Play podcast. We post at least 3 podcasts every week, and each of them being unique in their own ideas and absolutely about the current trend. So if you aren't following that, I don't know what you're doing. Just go ahead and follow that. Make sure to subscribe us, and thank you so much for joining in. Have a good day. Bye bye.